I was just helping my sister clean her apartment. Then her phone lit up. I miss you last night. I froze. That wasn't her husband's name. It was. It should have been nothing. That's what I told myself on the drive over to Raleigh. Olivia had texted me earlier that day, something casual, can you come by tonight? I need help sorting stuff. No urgency. No drama. Just normal. Lucas was out of town for work. That part mattered later. When I got there, everything looked fine. Their apartment was clean, quiet, the kind of place that felt put together without trying too hard. Olivia was in a good mood. Too normal, if I think about it now. We ordered takeout, sat on the floor with boxes around us, talking about random things. Work. A friend's engagement. Some show she was obsessed with. It felt like any other night. Nothing felt wrong. Until it did. She got up at one point, said she was going to shower. Left her phone on the kitchen counter, face up. I didn't think anything of it. I wasn't paying attention. Then it buzzed. Once. Twice. Then again. I remember glancing at it without thinking, the way you do when something keeps lighting up in your peripheral vision. The name on the screen wasn't Lucas. It was just saved as Noah. I didn't know any Noah in her life. Not from work, not from friends, not from anything she'd ever mentioned. The message preview lit up again. I miss you last night. My stomach dropped. Another one came in right after. I hate pretending with him. I didn't move. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't scroll. But I saw enough. It felt like the room shifted. Like everything that had been normal a second ago just wasn't anymore. I remember standing there, staring at the screen, thinking if I didn't react, if I didn't do anything, then somehow I wouldn't be part of it. Like knowledge needed action to become real. And I could still pretend I didn't know. The water was running in the bathroom. Olivia was humming, completely unaware. I could have walked over. I could have knocked on the door. I could have just said it out loud. Who is Noah? Simple. Direct. Done. Instead, I stepped back. I went back to the living room and sat down like nothing had happened. By the time she came out, hair damp, wrapped in a hoodie, I had already decided something. Or maybe I had already avoided deciding. She picked up her phone, glanced at it for half a second, and then just flipped it over. Screen down. Like it didn't matter. Like it was nothing. She sat across from me, smiling, continuing the same conversation we'd been having earlier. And then she said she's thinking about moving to Charleston, which makes no sense because her voice just kept going. Normal. Calm. Completely unaffected. I kept watching her, waiting for something to crack. For guilt. For hesitation. For anything. Nothing. I finally interrupted her. Are you okay with Lucas? It came out more serious than I meant it to. She paused. Just for a second. Then she shrugged. Yeah. Why? I stared at her, trying to read her face. Trying to see if she was lying, or if she thought I already knew, or if she was testing me. I almost said it. I almost just dropped it right there between us. I saw your messages. Who is Noah? But something stopped me. Not loyalty. Not fear of being wrong. Something smaller. Something quieter. I didn't want to be the one who changed everything. So I softened my tone instead. You've just seemed stressed lately. She relaxed instantly, like I'd handed her an easy way out. Oh. Yeah. Work's just been a lot. And that was it. She smiled. I nodded. And the moment disappeared. Just like that. We finished sorting her things. We talked about nothing. I left a couple hours later like it had been a completely normal night. But it wasn't. Because I knew. And she knew I knew something, maybe not everything, but enough. And neither of us said it out loud. That silence didn't feel accidental. It felt like a choice. And I made it. On the drive home, I kept replaying it. The messages. The name. The way she flipped the phone over like it didn't matter. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe it was emotional, not physical. Maybe it had already ended. Maybe I read too much into it. Or maybe I just didn't want to deal with what it actually meant. Because if I said something, if I pushed it, if I told Lucas, there was no version of that where things stayed the same. And I wasn't ready to be the person who broke everything. So I did nothing. And that was the first decision. Not the last. Just the first. I told myself it wasn't my place, even when the timeline started to feel wrong. A few weeks passed after that night in Raleigh, and nothing changed on the surface. Olivia still texted like everything was normal. We still met for coffee sometimes. She still talked about Lucas like he was just there. Steady. Predictable. Like he always had been. And I kept waiting. Waiting for her to bring it up. Waiting for her to slip, or confess, or even just hint at something. She didn't. If anything, she got better at being normal. That's what made it worse. Because now I couldn't tell if what I saw was still happening, or if she had already buried it so deep it didn't exist anymore. I tried to push it out of my head. Focus on my own life. My own job. My own routines. But every time I saw her name on my phone, something tightened in my chest. And then she asked me to meet her. It was a small coffee shop downtown. The kind with too many plants and soft music that makes everything feel quieter than it is. She was already there when I walked in. Smiling. That same easy, effortless smile. "I have news," she said as soon as I sat down. Something in my stomach dropped before she even said it. "I'm pregnant." She said it like it was the best thing that had ever happened to her. And for a second, everything around me just blurred. Because my brain didn't react the way it should have. I didn't think, "That's amazing." I didn't think, "She's going to be a mom." I thought. When? It was immediate. Instinctive. Like my mind skipped everything else and went straight to the part one didn't want to look at. I forced a smile anyway. Oh my God. Olivia. I reached across the table, hugged her, said all the right things. The normal things. "This is huge. I'm so happy for you." And I meant it. At least, part of me did. But another part of me was already doing the math. Quietly. Without permission. She kept talking, excited, nervous, laughing in between sentences. Telling me how she found out, how Lucas reacted, how they weren't planning it, but it just happened. I nodded along, listening, while something in my head kept circling one detail. Timing. Because I remembered the messages. I remembered Noah. And I remembered exactly when that night happened. It didn't line up cleanly. Not completely off, but not clean either. Close enough to ignore. Close enough to doubt. And that was the worst kind of uncertainty. Because now I couldn't even hold on to a clear answer. Just a possibility. I told myself I was overthinking it. That even if she had been talking to someone else, it didn't automatically mean anything about the baby. People make mistakes. People end things. People move on. It didn't have to mean this. It didn't. I repeated that to myself the entire drive home. And then again that night. And again the next morning. Until it almost sounded believable. A few weeks later, we had a small family dinner in Charleston. Nothing big. Just our parents, Olivia, Lucas, and me. That's when it became real for everyone else. Olivia announced it properly at the table. My mom cried immediately. My dad stood up and hugged Lucas like he'd just done something heroic. Lucas looked overwhelmed in the best way. Like he didn't even know where to put all the happiness he was feeling. "I'm gonna be a dad," he kept saying, almost to himself. And every time he said it, something inside me twisted. Because he believed it completely. There was no hesitation. No doubt. No second thought. Just certainty. I watched him that whole night. The way he stayed close to Olivia. The way he made sure she was comfortable. The way he kept glancing at her like she was carrying something fragile and important, because she was. And I kept thinking, what if this isn't what you think it is? The thought wouldn't leave. It followed me through dinner, through dessert, through the quiet ride back to where I was staying. And still, I said nothing. I told myself it wasn't my place. I told myself I didn't know for sure. I told myself I could ruin 3 lives over something that might not even be true. So I stayed quiet. Again. Months passed. Olivia's pregnancy progressed normally. Doctor visits. Ultrasounds. Baby names. All of it. Lucas was involved in everything. Every appointment he could make, he was there. Every update, every photo, every little milestone, he was all in. And Olivia? She seemed calmer. More settled. Like whatever chaos had been there before had either disappeared, or just gotten better at hiding. We never talked about that night. Not once. It was like it didn't exist. Until one afternoon, it slipped again. She was showing me something on her phone, pictures from an appointment, I think. Just swiping through casually, talking about due dates and nursery colors. And then she swiped too far. There he was. Same name. Same contact. Noah. The screen paused for half a second before she realized what she'd done. But I saw enough. Messages. Recent. Not old. Not forgotten. Ongoing. She quickly swiped back, locked the phone, and set it down like nothing happened. Neither of us spoke for a second. Then she just kept talking. Like it hadn't happened. Like I hadn't just seen exactly what I was afraid of. That's when it really hit me. This wasn't a mistake that had ended. This was still happening. While she was pregnant. While Lucas was planning a future around her. While everyone believed this was something pure and simple and real. I felt it then. That moment where everything inside you shifts from maybe to this is real. And I still didn't say anything. Not to her. Not to Lucas. Not to anyone. Because by then, it wasn't just about exposing something. It was about destroying something that had already started. A life. A family. A version of reality that everyone else was already living in. And I couldn't bring myself to be the one who shattered it. So I chose silence. Again. And that choice didn't feel temporary anymore. It felt permanent. Like something I was going to have to carry no matter what happened next. I kept telling myself it would surface on its own. But instead, it just turned into a life. A real one. The kind you can't interrupt without breaking everything. Ava was born on a rainy morning in Raleigh. I remember the hospital room feeling too bright, too clean, like everything in it was untouched by the mess I was carrying in my head. Olivia looked exhausted but calm. Lucas looked like he hadn't slept in days and didn't care. And when the nurse finally placed Ava in his arms, he cried. Not quietly, not controlled, just full, open emotion. "I've got you," he whispered to her. I heard it. I remember that part clearly. And something in my chest just dropped. Because he meant it. There wasn't even a fraction of doubt in him. No hesitation. No second thought. Just love. Complete and immediate. And I stood there, smiling, pretending I wasn't watching something that might not even belong to him. I told myself again. You don't know for sure. That became my shield. Every time something felt off, every time a thought tried to push through, I buried it with that sentence. You don't know for sure. So I kept showing up like nothing was wrong. Birthdays. Holidays. Random weekends. I watched Ava grow from a newborn into a toddler who ran straight to Lucas every time he walked through the door. Daddy. Every time she said it, he lit up. Every time I felt it. That quiet, heavy feeling that never really went away. From the outside, they looked normal. Not perfect. No one is. But stable. Comfortable. Like a family that had figured itself out. Lucas handled everything the way you'd expect. Late nights when Ava wouldn't sleep. Early mornings before work. Doctor visits. School forms later on. He was always there. And Olivia. She played her part just as well. If anything, she leaned into it harder. Posting pictures, talking about their little family, making everything look complete. And maybe part of her believed it too. Or maybe she just needed everyone else to. We still never talked about it. Not the messages. Not Noah. Nothing. It was like we had both agreed, without saying it, that if we didn't bring it up, it couldn't follow us into this new version of life. But it did. It showed up in small ways. Moments no one else would notice. The way Olivia would step outside to take calls. The way she'd angle her phone away from Lucas without thinking. The way she'd go quiet sometimes, like she was somewhere else entirely. I noticed all of it. Because I was looking for it. And every time I saw something, I told myself the same thing. Stay out of it. Years passed like that. Ava started school. Lucas never missed anything important. Performances, meetings, even the small stuff that most people skip. He built his entire routine around her. I remember one afternoon in Charleston. Family gathering. Nothing big, just one of those weekends where everyone ends up in the same place. Ava was laughing about something, sitting on Lucas's shoulders, holding onto his head like it was the safest place in the world. And I caught myself thinking, she doesn't even question it. Why would she? This was her reality. This was the only version of her life she knew. And Lucas. He never questioned it either. Not out loud, at least. If he ever had doubts, he buried them better than anyone I've ever seen. Or maybe he never had a reason to doubt. Because no one gave him one. Not Olivia. And not me. That's the part that started to sit heavier over time. It wasn't just her secret anymore. It was mine too. I had information that could change everything, even if I couldn't prove it completely. And I chose to hold it. Every day that passed made it harder to say anything. Because now it wasn't just about a marriage. It was about a child who had already built her entire world around a truth that might not be real. And what do you even do with that? You don't just expose something like that and walk away. You don't just drop it into someone's life and pretend you didn't just change it forever. So I stayed quiet. Again. But the quiet wasn't easy anymore. It wasn't something I could ignore. It sat there under everything. Every conversation. Every family moment. Every time Lucas talked about the future. It built up slowly. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just constant. Until it didn't feel like I was protecting anything anymore. It felt like I was just waiting. Waiting for something to break on its own. Because deep down, I think I knew. This wasn't something that could stay buried forever. And I wasn't the only one carrying it anymore. I just didn't know who would be the one to finally let it out. I thought the truth would come from me, but it didn't. It never needed me. It happened on a random Sunday. Not dramatic. Not planned. Just one of those quiet days that feels safe until it isn't. I wasn't there when it started. I only heard about it after. Lucas had been cleaning out an old drawer in their Raleigh apartment. One of those things you put off for months until you finally decide to deal with it. Inside was an old laptop. Olivia's. Apparently she hadn't used it in years. Or at least, that's what she told everyone. Lucas powered it on out of curiosity. Said he was just looking for old photos, maybe documents they forgot about. Something normal. Something harmless. And then he found it. Messages. Not recent ones. Old ones. From the exact time I remembered. The same name. Noah. But this time, there was no swiping it away. No flipping the phone over. No pretending it didn't exist. It was all there. Conversations. Details. Dates. Enough to remove any doubt. I didn't see them myself. I didn't need to. The way Olivia described it later, that was enough. She called me that night. Her voice was flat. Not crying. Not panicking. Just empty. He knows. That's all she said at first. I didn't even ask how. I already knew. Everything I had avoided for years just caught up in one moment. What happened? I asked anyway. She took a breath. He found the laptop. The messages. Everything. There was a long pause. Then she said something that stuck with me more than anything else. I didn't think it would come out like this. Not if. How? Like the outcome was always there, just waiting. What did you say? I asked. Another pause. I told him the truth. My chest tightened. All those years of silence, and it still ended here. It just took longer. He asked me if Ava is his, she continued. And that was it. That was the question everything had been building toward. The one I had avoided even thinking about directly. The one that could have been asked years ago, before everything got this far. What did you say? I asked again, even though I already knew. I couldn't answer right away. Her voice cracked slightly this time. Just enough to show something underneath. That was enough for him. Of course it was. Silence again. But this time, it wasn't mine. A few days later, they did the test. There was no drama around it. No big confrontation. No drawn-out arguments. Just confirmation. Ava isn't his. I remember exactly where I was when Olivia told me. Sitting in my car in a grocery store parking lot in Columbus. People walking by. Carts moving. Normal life happening all around me. And my phone in my hand. She's not his, Olivia said. Just like that. No build-up. No emotion. Just a fact. Everything went quiet in my head for a second. Not because I didn't expect it. Because I had. For years. It was the confirmation that hit differently. Because now there was no more space to hide in uncertainty. No more, maybe. No more, you don't know for sure. Now I knew. And knowing didn't feel like relief. It felt heavy. Lucas moved out within a week. No scene. No screaming. No dramatic goodbye. He just left. Packed what he needed and went to stay somewhere else. And that was it. Years of a life, reduced to that. The part that messed with me the most? He didn't completely disappear. He still sees Ava. Not all the time. Not like before. But he shows up. Birthdays. Some weekends. School events. He still answers when she calls him Dad. And I can't tell if that makes it better or worse. Because now there's this gap. Not fully gone. Not fully the same. Just different. Olivia's life collapsed quietly. The divorce started. Finances got messy. Our parents tried to stay neutral, which really just meant they didn't want to deal with the reality of it. Everything shifted. And me? I keep going back to all the moments I could have said something. That night in the apartment. At the coffee shop. During the pregnancy. After Ava was born. Any one of those moments would have changed something. Maybe Lucas would have walked away earlier. Maybe Ava wouldn't have grown up believing something that wasn't true. Maybe everything would have broken sooner, but cleaner. But I didn't. I watched it build instead. I let it become real. I let him love her without ever questioning it. And now I'm just someone who knew and stayed quiet. Olivia never blamed me. Lucas doesn't know I knew. To everyone else, I was just not involved. But that's not true. I was there. I saw enough. I understood enough. And I chose silence every single time. Part of me still thinks I made the only choice I could live with back then. Another part of me knows I didn't choose what was right. I chose what was easier. Because saying nothing doesn't feel like a decision when you're doing it. It just feels like staying out of it. Until you realize you were part of it the whole time. And now I'm left with this question I can't really answer. Did I protect something that deserved time to exist, or did I just help a lie last long enough to hurt more people in the end? I keep replaying that night in my head, the phone lighting up, the name I didn't recognize, the moment everything could have changed. And I didn't say anything. Not because I didn't know, but because I didn't want to be the one who destroyed it. Now it's destroyed anyway. Just years later. With more damage. More attachment. More people involved. Lucas didn't get a choice. Ava didn't get the truth. And Olivia didn't have to face it until it was too late to fix anything. And me? I got exactly what I wanted. I stayed out of it. I just didn't realize staying out of it meant letting it grow into something worse. So I don't know. If you were in my position, would you have said something early and ruined everything right away? Or stayed silent like I did and let the truth ruin it later?